Okay, folks, as we are wrapping things up and finishing our discussion of fences, and in fact, finishing our semester, let's go over just a couple of housekeeping things. First, remember you have to turn in essay number three. Uh, Given the circumstances and the difficulties of getting work done and working from home and all of the end of the semester requirements that all of you have, I'm I'm not going to enforce deadlines. Uh, Please get the papers to me when you finish them. Send them as an email attachment, and that will help me get everything graded on time. Uh, as long as I have time to grade the paper before grades are due, then there won't be any penalty attached. But I'll just ask for you to be honest brokers, and as soon as you can get them finished, get them to me. We're all working through this together, and um, I'll be as flexible as I can be. I'm also going to be available uh, by email to help you in any way that I can with the papers, to answer any questions. You can text me if you want. If you wish to call me, you are certainly free to call me. If you want to go over a draft, I'm happy to do that over Zoom, and we can use a screen sharing and look at the same text. Whatever I can do to help you. We also have a final examination, which we'll conduct at the regular time that our exam's scheduled for. We'll do it over Blackboard. If there are problems with Blackboard, I think most of those have been resolved, but if something happens on the day of the exam and you can't log into Blackboard, call me, reach me by email. We can do the exam another way. We'll find a way through it. Uh, the exam is going to be an essay exam. It's not something you're really going to have to study for, given that you'll all be taking it remotely. There's no way that I'll be able to proctor what you're doing, so you can assume that the exam is open book and open notebook. What I'm going to do is ask you to write um, some essays. It won't take you more than about an hour. Uh, that will draw together some of the ideas that we've been talking about all semester. So uh, the I don't want you to think of the exam as being a stressful experience. We have to have it. It's not going to be the final that we would have had if we had been meeting for the end of the semester as we had originally planned. Um, the bigger work that's in front of you is essay number three. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about the end of fences and the ideas that we'll be discussing when we meet on Friday. On Monday, which will be our last class meeting, uh, we will meet over Blackboard. I'll be available to answer questions for those of you who are still putting the paper together. Uh, I'll also be answering questions and doing whatever I can to help you prepare for the final. But Friday will really be our last class period to talk about literature. We've done, and you have done, a really good job of unpackaging the complicated relationships that that Troy has with his two sons, and also connecting that to the central metaphors of the play, the idea of the fences, those things that both protect and confine. The fence as an image that both makes a home and can make a space into something like a prison. We've talked about the image of that ball of rags that Troy has tethered to the tree that he likes to hit with his baseball bat, and how that becomes, in some ways, a metaphor for his relationship with other people. He keeps batting them around. He's abusive in a lot of ways towards his sons. He treats them, I think, more harshly than we would think of parents, uh, than the way that parents should treat their kids. Uh, and they keep coming back. If we think of parenting, to use a baseball metaphor, and August Wilson loves baseball metaphors, the idea of good parenting should be to get the kids over the fence. You provide the protective space for them when they're young, so that they can grow and learn, and then you want them to go out and be on their own and to become successful, independent adults. Troy doesn't really nurture. He smacks, and as we see with lions, he wants them to keep coming back, almost to be smacked again. It seems to be a kind of dysfunctional parenting, and in that way, the the play might seem to be almost hopeless, right? Uh, the dynamics of one generation replaying themselves in the next generation. But I want us to think about that in greater detail as we wrap up our discussion. Uh, to what degree does this play suggest progress is possible? Wilson was interested, as I mentioned in the beginning, in tracking the experience of the African American community throughout the 20th century. And in his view, and this may be the view that a lot of us would have, that experience was one of both progress and setbacks. It seems in some ways like the same battles have to keep being fought over and over again, but yet in other ways, it seems that things have changed and progress has been made. And I think Wilson wants to explore that at the micro level as well as at the macro level. And I want us to look at the end of this play and see if we can find what he's saying about both of them. Is there progress within families? Uh, is Troy a better parent than his father was? Are Lyons and Corey better men than Troy? Uh, is there a sense of a brighter future? And that's one of the big questions I want us to focus on. And to do that, I want us to think about what we would see as an audience on the stage in the last minutes. Troy has died, and in the last scene, the family is coming together for his funeral. The set for this play has been dark and grimy and just very bleak throughout. Right? I mean, that's what the set of Fences is. It really is a kind of uh, sad urban environment. Troy's lawn doesn't have any grass in it. It doesn't, it probably doesn't get enough sunlight. There's the half-finished fence. When we first see Troy and Bono, they're wearing usually in the productions, they're wearing the gray jumpsuits that sanitation workers would wear. And everything just looks bleak. And of course, the ending, we're at a funeral, which those are sad, bleak occasions. But there are two things on the stage, two people who really shine. Um, and in productions that I've seen of this play, they work the lighting and they work the costuming to really make these two characters sparkle. One, of course, is the little girl Raynell. Uh, and how can a young child not brighten up the scene on the stage? And usually, as Raynell is presented, Rose has dressed her in her best clothes for the funeral, and she's a beautiful young girl, and she just sort of exudes this hopefulness on the stage as children do. And the other is Corey. Um, Corey has never he never made it off to college. Uh, he had he would have had that opportunity, but it didn't happen. Corey has instead enrolled in the United States Marines, and when he comes on stage, he is wearing his Marine dress blue uniform. Now, some of you may have served in other branches of the military, and I'm not saying anything derogatory about any of their uniforms, but I think most folks would agree the Marine dress blue uniforms, that's a darn good looking uniform. And Corey has always been in the stage. He's a strong, put together young man. And when he comes on that stage, he's walking with the kind of confidence and the kind of air and the sort of polish that a uh, that a member of the Marine Corps usually has when he's presenting himself. Corey has a kind of hopefulness and a kind of strength to him that really stands in contrast to the bleakness of the set. He right now seems to just offer this tremendous promise. Lyons. Uh, Lyons seems to have progressed as well. We know that his marriage to Bonnie has broken up. We know that Lyons has spent some time uh, in incarceration, uh, not for a violent crime like his father did, but for a financial crime. Uh, it, he was writing bad checks, and he spent a little bit of time in prison. But he seems to have a kind of self awareness. Um, he takes responsibility for his actions in ways that I don't think Troy ever really did, and in ways that it's hard to imagine Troy's father, the little bit that we learn about him, ways that'd be hard to imagine him doing. Lyons is not, um, maybe he's not an admirable character, maybe he's not a character who has the kind of bright future that all of you do, but he's a character who shows some responsibility. He seems to be emerging uh, as a productive member of society, as a good citizen. Corey is full of promise. So um, is Wilson saying that the maybe the arc of social justice or the arc of history bends towards justice, as Martin Luther King said, but it bends slowly. Uh, Progress both in society and in families happens, but it maybe um, it doesn't seem like it's happening when it's taking place, but we can see through the magic of the theater that it is happening. Or is there another sense at the end of this play? And I want you to think specifically about Corey and what's happening in our nation right around the um, right around the time. Remember that this play is set in the 1950s, and we've lost a few years between the ending of the action and the requiem at the end. So we don't know exactly what we're coming into the 1960s. Uh, what would Corey be facing, and are we seeing him as a young reflection of an older character that we've met throughout the play? And I'm going to leave it there. That's the question for that uh, I want us to try to answer when we meet tomorrow on Blackboard. I will see you all then. Uh, Email me, contact me, however you wish. If you need help with the papers, I look forward to meeting you on discussion board. Take care, folks.